And I thought if I was a high performing athlete, I needed to do this to the extreme. I needed to have an extreme amount of intensity. And we had to get my mind focused on this being the goal. I wasn't going to waver. I was going to be so self-disciplined. I was going to show myself and everybody else that this was possible. So through all of this training and through all of this dieting and through all of this mental pushing, I would beat myself up worse than anyone I've ever met. I was the biggest bully that I had ever met. I remember going to bed so hungry and telling myself, you can't eat or you're going to fail. You're stronger than this. You don't need to be fueling your body right now. You need to accomplish this goal. You need to stay the course. You need to be suffering more than anyone else to get to the finish line. So I did get to the finish line. Welcome to Beyond the Black Belts. Thanks for showing up and joining me today. I'm Maeghen Cotterill, the owner of 5 Elements Martial Arts in Calgary, Alberta, and the president of Team Canada for the World Kickboxing and Karate Union Canada. If you are enjoying the Beyond the Black Belts podcast, I would love to hear your feedback, any comments you have, thoughts, any content you'd like me to share. And if it resonates with you or anyone in the community, please share and like. I appreciate it. So today I'm going to speak about life after the competition, life after the big goal. And not in general, but what happens immediately after that big thing, that thing that you want really bad, that you've been preparing for so passionately and so intensely, and it consumes everything that you're doing. What happens after you get there? What happens after you step off the podium? So I'm going to talk about how it felt for me. In my journey, there's been a lot of things that I really, really, really wanted to accomplish for a lot of different reasons. To make myself feel more validated, to get some confirmation, to feel like I was educated, to give myself some clout. I wanted those goals because I was told I never could, because I thought I was capable of doing something crazy that very little people have actually accomplished. And the people that I really respected, these were things that they accomplished. And I wanted to have that feeling of being good enough or striving for excellence or being a high performer. So I won 11 world titles. My goal was to win 10. I thought that if I won 10 world titles, I would be taken seriously. I would be educated in my field. I would have all the confidence that I needed to continue to grow my career. I also wanted to have master belt levels in the black belts that I got. So I got 4 black belts, and I've now gotten 2 6-degree black belts in 2 different arts. But what happens after that? So we'll go all the way back to my first goal as going for my first world title. I knew that this was totally possible. I had just had a baby though. From the time I had the baby to the time that I weighed in for my first world championships postpartum, I had lost 93 pounds. So I was bedridden through my pregnancy. For the first time since I was 8 years old, I wasn't able to do martial arts. I was bedridden. I was really sick. The chance of carrying my son was very low. I was very high risk, but I'd never not had control over my martial arts career or my life or my competing up until this point. So we'll fast forward to having him. So I had him. I had extreme postpartum and depression. I wanted to get my business back on track. I had had my studio for a long period of time up till then. So I think I'd had my studio for about 6 years when I had him. And we had just expanded into our 3rd location. So I decided to make a goal to lose a lot of weight, to make it to world championships, to win a gold medal, to grow my business, to figuring out what I needed to do moving forward. So I set some very unrealistic goals. I was eating very little calories. I was training 4 to 7 hours a day. I mean, I even went back into teaching and training 3 weeks after I had my son, because this was the goal that I was going to set for myself. And I thought if I was a high performing athlete, I needed to do this to the extreme. I needed to have an extreme amount of intensity. And we had to get my mind focused on this being the goal. I wasn't going to waver. I was going to be so self-disciplined. I was going to show myself and everybody else that this was possible. What I think a lot of high performing athletes forget is that a lot of this way of thinking and being is extremely unhealthy. And these goals are a lot and can be very unreasonable sometimes. And they're amazing. They're amazing when you accomplish them. But there is a particular mindset where it is a very fine line between getting your goal and kind of madness. So I had pursued this goal. I had lost 93 pounds. I had weighed in. I had worked really, 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 really hard. The first year that I went to the World Championships postpartum was a huge accomplishment for me. The only bad part is I had pursued my goal to the extreme so hard with this kind of a high performance mentality that I weighed in at 117 pounds at 5'10". And I had made such a ridiculously low weight class that even though I felt like I had accomplished all my goals, I had won at national championships. I'd qualified for multiple divisions. I was training a team. I brought an entire team from my studio representing Team Canada. I was someone that was helping to build Team Alberta, but I was sick and I was unhealthy and mentally I was not regulated. I was experiencing so much anxiety and so much depression and didn't even know because I had taken this high performance mentality to the extreme. Through this, I didn't win a gold medal that first year. And so when you work so hard to a goal and you want it so bad, I did medal that year. I was up on the podium and I medaled. I just remember how exhausted I was, but I was really happy that I made it that far and I was able to do that after having my son and everything that I had to go through that first year. But mentally, every piece of food that went into my mouth, I was like, this is fuel. I wouldn't eat dessert and I would self-punish. I would tell myself, you can't get fat, you can't gain weight, you need to stay the course. I'd be so tired that I'd black out during my workouts and I would go, Maeghen, stop wussing out. Get it together, refocus, get training. I know you're tired. I know you just threw up in the bathroom. In order to succeed, you need to push that extra hour. You need to finish that last workout. Yeah, you need to run at 10 p.m. because you need to make sure that you're losing weight at this kind of pace and that your cardio is up to speed. And, there's going to be other girls that have stronger cardio and they've been training harder and their meal plans are stricter. And you need to make sure that you're doing everything better and harder and more intense than anyone else in order to achieve this huge goal. And mentally, there was no rest. There was no recovery. There was no balance. And I wanted this so hard and I thought it would feel good when I got it. And I think as an athlete too, what I didn't understand was I didn't have coaches that were helping me with anything else except for the basic training. I had the sparring coaches, I had some technical coaches, but I never had a proper nutritionist. I never had a proper therapist. I never had a proper sports psychologist. I never had anyone that managed a healthy way to achieve these high performing goals. So I was so incredibly self-destructing on the way to these goals that it was inevitable that there would be a huge crash. And so there was. If you're liking this podcast and you like this content, please share with me. Please please comment, please share with your friends. So through all of this training and through all of this dieting and through all of this mental pushing, I would beat myself up worse than anyone I've ever met. I was the biggest bully that I had ever met. I remember going to bed so hungry and telling myself, you can't eat or you're going to fail. You're stronger than this. You don't need to be fueling your body right now. You need to accomplish this goal. You need to stay the course. You need to be suffering more than anyone else to get to the finish line. So I did get to the finish line. I remember I won my first world title. My son was 2 years old. And I remember feeling weird. I'd gotten to the place that I wanted and I was excited, but it didn't make me feel like the way I thought it was going to make me feel. I didn't feel like a better person. I didn't feel like a more confident person. I didn't even feel like a deserving person. I had beat myself up so badly, mentally, physically, psychologically, spiritually, for such a long period of time without any rest or any recovery. I never quit dieting. I never quit overtraining. I never took a month off. I never did a proper fight camp. I was year-round fight camp for 2 years before I won my first world title. And then even then, I thought I'd be happy. I thought it would fill that void. And instead, I continued to beat myself up. I was like, well, maybe it's not a real one. Maybe I didn't really earn this world title. Maybe I need to work harder. Maybe this was just a fluke. Maybe I only had easy opponents this year. Maybe the best in the world didn't come to this world championships. Like, maybe this isn't real. And psychologically, I'd messed my head up so much that it wasn't enough. And so I continued. And I continued harder and more up until I won my 10th world title. And I remember winning my 10th world title. I had a broken nose. I had a concussion. I had a huge black eye, a huge mouse underneath my eyes. I had broke my nose again in the fight, my last gold medal fight. And I remember I was happy that I didn't quit, but it didn't fill the void that I thought it would fill. My body was so broken. It was so tired. I was in so much pain. I was going through so much PTSD and anxiety and depression. I had such low self-esteem. And you'd think being such a high performer and getting up to 10 world titles and running a successful martial arts school and being one of the Team Canada coaches and training all of these other world champions, like, you'd feel awesome. You'd feel like you were completely kicking ass, and like you would have a different kind of vibe about you and a different kind of happiness about you, and like the void would be gone. And it wasn't gone. And the come down was the worst. I remember like the next day or 2 days after or a week after winning those world titles and going, am I still good if I'm not going for another world title? Like, can I eat that food? Can I eat that dessert? Can I skip that training? Can I sleep in? Like, I'm not running every day on like no fuel. Can I eat a carb? Like, am I going to turn into an embarrassment and not an athlete anymore and not a gold medalist anymore and not a martial artist anymore if I like take a break? Am I going to look like a total failure if I take a break? And that was so incredibly overwhelming and heartbreaking. And I didn't choose recovery willingly. It was not willingly that I decided to get myself healthy and get over the anxiety and the depression from trying to perform more and more and more and higher and to more extremes. Like, winning at one division wasn't enough. I had to win at 2. And then when I won at 2, I had to win at 3. And then when I did 3, I had to do 4. And it led to like 9 divisions and 1 world championships. Then it led to doing multiple associations because I never felt like that was enough. And like this void got bigger and worse. And I never took the time to celebrate or be proud of myself or treat myself the way that I would treat any of my students or any other female athlete. Like, if any other female athlete even made it to nationals or did well or took that risk or went to their goal, I would be like, let's go for champagne. Let's celebrate you. Let's blast you all over social media. Like, you are an amazing human for doing this. But to myself, I was like, it's not good enough. And it was that not good enough mentality that actually pushed me to get to those world titles. That was the motivation that I was pushing myself to do, was I was constantly calling myself like a piece of hot garbage and a failure in order to train and push and do whatever it took to get to those goals. So last piece was the recovery, and kind of recovery against my will. So I had won an 11th world title, and I'm getting kind of up there in age. My body feels pretty broken. I've broken my nose so many times. I've had multiple reconstructive surgeries. I had broken my shin and bones in my foot and pieces off in my elbows and my wrist. And even still, like, I wasn't going to stop, because accomplishing these goals were the only things that I thought could make me valuable. And I just wanted to be valuable so much. And I wanted to be seen and heard so badly. And I wanted to be looked at like someone that was good, that was amazing. And I really didn't feel like me as a human or me as a person was good enough without those things, without being that high-performing athlete. What it took was emergency surgery. What it took was 6 surgeries on my abdomen, including removing a giant tumor. That started my journey to recovery, but that was the worst way to go through any type of recovery. When you lose the ability to walk, when you lose the ability to even get out of bed and you're bedridden, as a high-performing athlete with a six-pack going into surgery and them cutting your abs in 6 different places, and you are bedridden for weeks at a time, and you have to sit with yourself, and you have to sit with that value. You have to sit with that depression. You have to sit with that identity. If I could give any recommendation to anyone, if you're a high-performing athlete, seek therapy. Seek a sports psychologist. Find good mentors. Talk to other high performers or other athletes or other people in your industry that can give you some support and give you some logic and give you some reason and give you some balance. I mean, being a high performer, there really isn't any balance because you're doing something that is imbalanced. You're doing something that people are doing. You're like the top 1% or you're the top 0.5%. You're doing something crazy. This is your Everest. You're climbing Mount Everest. But if you don't figure out how to deal with the come down and how to deal with switching your brain from constantly climbing Mount Everest to leading a healthy and passionate and calm and fulfilling life, you're going to be laying in that bed, recovering, bawling your eyes out every day, thinking you're a failure, thinking like you're a disgusting human, thinking like you're going to lose your career, your identity, your self-worth, your friendships, the respect, your education. And so it's taken me 3.5 years to recover from that mindset. I don't think that I'm fully recovered from that mindset yet. I don't know if I ever will be. I don't know if it's a one day at a time kind of situation. And I think the demons still creep in when I really think about it, or when I'm having a bad week, or I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I feel like if I just accomplish more, I'll feel better. So I think I understand. And I think I have so much more compassion for those people that seek out greatness and seek out that top 1%. But please balance and please take care of yourself. Life is short. And if you're constantly chasing things that are unhealthy and are unreasonable, you're going to miss all the best parts in life. So sleep in, have that piece of cake, enjoy training, enjoy your body. Stop punishing yourself and find that community that can support you. If you liked this podcast, I would love to hear your experience and what you've experienced with maybe a big goal or something with high performance, and how you dealt with the aftermath or the recovery afterwards, or if you were able to find a better transition for yourself. I'm always looking for different ways of thinking and processing and creating a different mindset for myself that helps me to lead a happier and more confident life. So I would love to hear what you have to say. And if it resonates with you or anyone else, please share and let's continue to grow the community.